Good afternoon, everyone. You're all very welcome to Underground Cinema. As you know, for the month of October, we're interviewing as many nominees for the Underground Cinema Awards this year, which will take place in the Royal Marine Hotel very shortly on Saturday, November 5th. And this afternoon, we have with us Mark McAuley. You're very welcome, Mark.
Hello, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Brilliant, Mark. We go back an awful long time, and we were just chatting before we went on air. In fact, you were at the very first Underground Cinema screening back 14 years ago in the Kingston Hotel in Dunleary for your very entertaining short film Snow Escape.
Oh wow, that's a blast from the past. Was that on like butter bags or bean bags that day or something like that?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, God, you have better memory than me. Yeah, that's right. We had the
Wow.
beanbag, the free popcorn, the free drinks, and
That's the free popcorn.
yeah.
I remember the free popcorn. Yeah. My goodness. That's one of those films that I remember doing and thought like, okay, that'll never be seen again. We'll just keep on moving on.
Yeah.
But
Well, I have a copy of it, Mark. If you need it, I can forward that on to you.
that's okay. I have a hard copy on like DVD.
Well, you know, since then we've been watching your career over the years, Mark. You know, and you've developed fantastically as an actor, and we're delighted that you got the nod this year for your fantastic short film, "Throw Your Heart Over First." Well done. Maybe, Mark, you can tell us just a little bit about that film.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much for the nomination. It's an absolute honor to be nominated for such a brilliant festival. I love what you have done over the years to support independent filmmaking for starters. So, like, kudos to you and thanks very much for all the support you give, because it's really important that independent filmmakers have a platform as well as the mainstream cinema and to support, because it's those filmmakers that will eventually graduate on to becoming more mainstream. So it's great to see the support you guys give it. My film is about an actor who has a life-changing audition on the day of his dad's funeral. It's a black and white, single take, one shot short film, one continuous shot, 8 minutes and 53 seconds. And it's really trying to examine, creativity, grief, death, exploring my own relationship with my dad and his death through the medium of film and trying to explore those feelings. And I feel like, the human brain is just too small to understand death, so it's really nice to be able to like dive deeper into those emotions and experiences through film. And it also has that kind of collective experience that everybody goes through at some stage.
It's interesting you say that, Mark, because I think if if that's what you're trying to achieve, you did it really well. Having lost my own dad not too long ago, grief, and you're right about grief and loss and pain, and it's and you'll find over the years, it takes years to sort of get over it, and you do question, did this and that and the other, and I think that comes across quite well in your film. Why don't we just show, it's a very brief trailer, but we'll just have a quick look at it.
Brilliant.
Throw your heart over first, and the rest will follow, he used to say. Seriously, I understand you have a schedule and everything, but is it going to make much of a difference if I go now?
Well, that's for us to decide.
I mean, we're really cutting it short. Fuck's sake, it's my dad's funeral. I wanted to make him proud. I hope he is.
Well done, Mark. This film really comes, and I'm glad you clear that there this afternoon. This film really comes from the heart. Now that you've mentioned that you're drawing on real life experiences.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, it's in the title, "Throw Your Heart Over First." It's an expression that my dad used to use, like when I was a kid, doing anything in life. He always said, like, if you want to achieve anything or be successful at anything, you got to throw your heart over first. You got to commit to it with your heart fully. And that's kind of like what I wanted to do with this film as well. I wanted to try and put as much heart into it as possible and try and be bold with the way we shot it and the story that I'm trying to tell as well. So that's kind of like the impetus, the driving force behind the film.
Yeah, and you've laid on a real challenge for yourself. Not only are you the writer, which you're very passionate about, you're also the director, and you're also the star. But the real challenge here is to try this continuous shot for just slightly over 8 minutes. Now
Yeah.
I think this is the third short film that we've had submitted into us, maybe fourth, but that has been submitted to us that has hit it on the nail. Now, the last one I remember really well was a film called Halo. That was directed by a brilliant director, Michael David McKernan, and the DOP was Bertie Wagner, who won an award. It's called Halo. Now that short is 16 minutes long, because it's complex to set up that shot. So you set yourself something really, really ambitious there. But you really had a brilliant DOP with you there, Owen McGovern.
Yeah, I mean Owen is brilliant, and I've worked with Owen, I think, on 3 shorts before. I think this is the third we worked together. So like we have a great shorthand and understanding, and he's super talented. Like he's done lots of brilliant stuff beforehand, and it's great to see him actually get a nomination this year around, because he really does deserve it, especially for what he does in independent filmmaking. But like you said, this was a one shot. So it wasn't just a one shot for the sake of a one shot. You know, there's actually like a reason behind it, and that's what's important. It's not superfluous. It's not just something that looks good or jazzy. It's the idea behind it is to try and grab the audience's attention from the very beginning and hold it there and hold it right till the very end. And I think the biggest compliment I've got from people is people have watched it and not even realized that it is a one shot. So it's like, it's not the overriding thing that the film is all about. It's a great thing to have, and I think it works really successfully in terms of holding the audience attention and bringing them on that journey, so we never get that cut, which means the audience potentially lose attention for a second. But I mean, Owen did a brilliant job, as you can imagine. Like just for a DP to be able to work a camera continuously for that long in itself is impressive. But also with the choreography and moving around between all the other actors in the space. So, I mean, it was a lot of work for him just doing the shot itself. So, like, really, really impressive. I mean, and it all came from work we did before the actual shot in terms of how we set it up. We had like initially we had the actors in the space. I did have an idea of how I wanted it to look in terms of I saw the film playing in my mind beforehand. And then we just got the actors into the space, got familiar with the space, and then see how they moved. And then afterwards, we brought the camera team in, Owen, and then we rehearsed it. So it became almost like a dance in itself, which was just happening on the day before actually shooting, the day of the shoot, excuse me. So there's no like, we were working with the actors and DP in previous days. This all happened on the same day, which is even more impressive from what Owen did, I think, anyway.
Yeah, I suppose you've answered a lot of questions there that I was going to ask, in particular with regard to, setting the piece up and the rehearsal. I mean, did it take you long to rehearse and to get it right?
Yeah, I mean, the idea was we wanted to make sure that everyone was really comfortable with the rehearsal beforehand before we went to do a take, because I felt like the more we rehearsed and the tighter we were with the movements, not so much in terms of the actors and how they performed in delivery, because that I always am wary of, like actors having to over rehearse and then losing the freshness and then repeating the same delivery over and over again. But it was more specific for the movement, because it's really important that everyone moves in a specific manner that allows the DP to be able to walk around them all and still maintain that connection with me in the film in terms of the one shot. So, I mean, we rehearsed it probably for, I'd say maybe 4 hours before we actually shot anything. And we didn't rush it. We took our time. We just tried to discover like how everyone felt in the space, locked in the movements. And then we took a break for lunch, and then we came back in and we did 2 takes. And the second one was the one.
Brilliant. Like I like the way you describe it as almost like rehearsing a dance.
Yeah.
And because you're right. I mean, my background is theatre, so when we're doing a show and we're coming up very close to a show, your rehearsals, when you start off rehearsing a play, you're probably doing maybe 2 hours in the evening or whatever. But then when it gets a bit more intensive, you're up to 4 to 5 hours rehearsal. Yeah. Coming up towards the show, and at that stage, when you do that amount of rehearsal, it becomes just second nature. Everybody knows everybody's steps. So, after a 4-hour rehearsal period, and that's very interesting as well, the fact that after your 4 hours, you went in and did one take and did a second one. And at that stage, you felt, we got it, we've nailed it. There is no more, we don't need to do any more. We've rehearsed it, we've spent 5, 6, 7 hours on this. We can't get it any better. And I think you're right. To probably do more and more and more would probably defeat the purpose. You got it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, I also had like a brilliant team. Like the actors that I worked with on this, like Fia Kunz, Barry John Kinsella, Lacey Moore, and Shane Robinson. They're really brilliant actors, and they're so comfortable working in that environment that no one's panicking. It's because it's a one shot. Everything has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. Everyone just has to be calm and relaxed and stay in the moment, and we'll find it. And that's the advantage of working with people that are really that good. Especially they also, most of them have a theater background as well. So I guess it also helps with that kind of work.
And the other thing as well is, Mark, is that because you've rehearsed it so much that you no longer have to worry about, I'm going to trip over this, I'm going to walk into that. You can actually focus on the performance. Because you not only you've got to deliver the performance, not about just I don't want to bump into anybody here, or if I make a mistake, we have to start the whole thing all over again. You got to focus on that performance, and it's a very emotive performance. It had me, and I probably had me, because I know my dad has passed away just a couple of years, but it's still raw, it's still there, and that's the reason why I was sort of taken in by it. So the performance was really, really fantastic. Hence the nod that you got this year.
Thanks very much. I mean, it's important to, I guess, let yourself as an actor go to those places that are uncomfortable, that maybe you haven't explored in your own real life as well, because that's what's going to really set the piece apart. That truthfulness, the rawness, the naturalness that comes from really just diving into those spaces. Because it's also I guess in real life, we often don't go into those places. With our friends or family through conversations, because it is very difficult to talk about death and grief, and as much as they are, final and terrible, devastating experiences, there's also a lot of heart and fond memories associated with the person as well. It's important to find the balance between those two things. I think I was lucky in the first take. I remember doing it. It was like half my brain was still kind of focusing on how the camera was moving, where everyone was going. So the performance was a little bit, it was split. I guess I had half director, half actor brain on. And then in the second performance, I felt much more comfortable in terms of, okay, everyone has this now. We all know where we're going. I'm just going to let that go. And I'm just going to focus on just doing my own thing here.
Yeah. And as I said, the performance is very important, but as men, we have a tendency to hold a lot in and not to show our emotions at all, and we really should be doing, we should release ourselves, we really should. And that was another thing I got from the film, that, the character is not afraid to, express exactly how he's feeling on such a tragic day. Out of all days to do an audition.
I know. I love when people are having those moments in ordinary situations, or you have a really heightened tragic experience, but it has humor in it, or a really funny experience that has tragedy in it. That's the human experience, isn't it, though? The truth of it. I mean, it's never just tragic. It's never just funny or humorous. It's always, everything is just meshed up in together. It's all this one big dirty mess. I think that's important with, our experiences. Like you said, I think it's so important for men to talk about what they're going through, because there's no point in bottling it up, because it's still residing there, and you can't really move forward in your own relationships or your own life successfully and actually deal with these emotions and feelings and experiences. That's why I hope the film can be a talking point, amongst other things, for that.
Yeah, and I think it is. A very important talking point. I don't know if you saw the Late Late Show over the weekend, but PJ Gallagher was being interviewed by Ryan Tubridy, and he was, the man's a fantastic comedian, but he was in a very dark place during lockdown, and was finding it difficult to express his emotions, and there were points where he felt like giving it all up until he started speaking about it. and people reached out to him. So there's no shame in it, and I certainly hope that your film, I think it should be seen by an awful lot of people, but there is no shame in being able to talk. But I also wanted to mention your crew. Behind every successful director is a crew. When you surround yourself with brilliant people, the end result is going to be fantastic. And we spoke about Owen's brilliant job as a DOP. Your sound was absolutely spot on, and I'm always harping on about the sound. It has to be bang on. And
I mean, like I have a real thing about sound, because before I've worked on a project where everything looked amazing and the sound was rubbish, and it just you can't have a beautiful picture and poor sound. You can have an all right picture and perfect sound, but without good sound, it never works. So I really was like adamant that whatever happens in here, that we make sure that we get really clear sound. And Tom did a great job there in capturing it. He had to like hide himself in a big case of boxes in the corner of a room so we couldn't see him, while still trying to capture the sound. We were all wearing mics, and the microphone in the shot, I thought, well, we could actually use that as a live mic and try and capture me talking, because it's part of a film setup. It's an audition scene. So we could have a mic there. If we're going to have a mic there, we might as well turn it on and try and record the sound. So I think, yeah. And then also the sound mix is Kieran Sheridan did a really good job. He also did the score. And I had a real idea of how the sound should be, even though we're looking at the character on screen. We still have all the sounds of the action going on behind him, and how that plays into how he's feeling and how the audience are going into his head, and then pulling back and seeing the bigger picture. So yeah, the crew is so important. They all did such a brilliant job. I really am grateful for everything they did.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we talk about you and I going back 14 years, and over those 14 years now, we would have screened over 5,000 short films over the years. Wow. It's incredible, really, when you think about it.
That is amazing.
So we watch everything, from start to finish. And back in the day, nobody was selling us files. Everything was on DVD.
Yeah.
So the postman used to hate me. When I come up to a film festival, he'd be non-stop walking up my drive trying to get DVDs into the letterbox. I'm sure I had the poor man driven mad. But so we watched it from start to finish, and there'd be nothing worse than looking at a film with incredible production values, brilliant cast, great storyline, and very bad sound. Now we watch everything from start to finish.
Brilliant.
Regardless of the quality, we watch it from start to finish. But there are festivals out there that will switch that off, after a minute or so. They won't give it a second thought. It's gone. So you're right. Sounds vital.
Yeah, I mean those festivals, like they're looking for an excuse to discount every film. So that as soon as they see a dip in production, picture, sound, bang, it's gone on to the next one. But it's like, even as an actor, like having to do ADR, like additional recording, I just do not like. I understand now it has its place and it's really important and can actually really save a film in terms of you shooting outside. You've got no control over the sound, exteriors, interiors. But it's just in terms of performance, I can always see a scene on TV or film like that was ADR. You just the disconnect between the actor's voice and the physical body and movement in the picture. It's just, for me, a lot of people, it doesn't bother them at all, but for me it's like, oh my god, I can see that.
Yeah, you're right, because when I see ADR in a film, I usually think, like, I'll think two things. Well, that's necessary, it has to be done like that. Or the other thing I'll think about is that something's gone wrong on the day and they've now forced to do ADR. So you're thinking technically while you're watching the film.
I know. Yeah.
Your lighting was great, and the choice to shoot in black and white. I thought, some people shoot in black and white for the sake of shooting in black and white, and it just doesn't look right. I don't know why some people do it, but this one, it worked really well in black and white.
Yeah, I guess it's a stylistic choice, for a lot of people, and things tend to look so nice in black and white, like they really look cool, so to speak. But I think for me, it was a choice from the very beginning. When I watched the film in my mind, it was always in black and white. It's the simplicity of the story, you know, the themes that I'm trying to get across in the story. The use of black and white really ties well into those themes. I think that's why it comes across. It's black and white. It's not so simple as that in real life, but it just keeps it to the story and the image. Very simple. That's kind of at least the goal that I was going for. Yeah.
Yeah, and it worked really well. And there are certain black and whites that work. Like I've seen so many black and white films coming into us over the years, and the black and white sometimes doesn't work, and a lot of it's to do with the grade.
Yes.
You know, it's not the right black and white. It's not the, it looks almost like old TV back in the 70s sort of black and white. You know, your black and white was graded correctly and properly, and it was important. It was lit well. To make black and white work, the lighting has to be good, and it was bang on.
No, that was brilliant. That was Owen again. Like he edited the film, so he graded it, and he organized the lighting as well. So like, you know, it's not the easiest thing to do, to light a space for a one shot, because you don't have the luxury, because you're much more confined in terms of how the camera moves, because you can't catch lights in the shot and you can't hide lights. But again, because we shot in a studio and we had the auditions scenario, it made it a little bit different to try and sneak lights in as part of the props, but also to actually act as practicals as well, like you would in theater.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
So, Mark, we've been looking at a lot of your stuff over the years, like Closing Time Tomorrow. You work with Terry McMahon with Breakup as well. Are you working on anything else now, or writing at the moment?
Yeah. So I have I'm working on a feature film. It's like 4 actors, 1 location. We're going to try and shoot it in 2 days and in 2 shots. So it's kind of like taking on and expanding this idea. And then I have a feature film also. I brought a play to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in 2019, A Fear and Loathing Actor in Dublin. And that did really well there. And I have developed that into a screenplay. So I'm hoping that we will be able to shoot that next year. The short film, Throw Your Heart Over First, it kind of comes from the same world as the play. So the characters are very similar, the way it's shot, the way the story is told. So it's not a proof of concept exactly, but could be used as a proof of concept. So I guess those 2 projects in terms of writing, directing, and acting at the moment. Yeah, so plenty of.
Well, that's fantastic, Mark. Well, you have your work cut out for you in the future. You really do. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up now, Mark. Once again, thank you so much for having a chat with us today, and really well done to yourself and on the nominations this year. It's a fantastic achievement.
Thanks very much, David. I really appreciate once again how much Underground do and yourself for independent filmmaking in Ireland. It's really important that, you know, you get a massive shout out for all your work. It's 14 years, 5,000 short films later.
Thank you very much, Mark. We love it. You just keep on making the films and we'll keep on screening them.
Thank you very much. Brilliant.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.